Tim Pool did not exercise very good due diligence this past week in promoting John Pierce on his show on Friday.
So people have been asking. I didn't watch it. I don't know if you watched it, but people have been asking for comment on that. So what do you think? Because I didn't see it yet. Let us know.
And I think the problem was it was upsetting to the Rittenhouse family and to other members and friends of the Rittenhouses and defense and other members of the defense team because of the headline. Now, it may have been kind of a clickbaitish headline, but it was very misleading because the headline of the live chat was all about Rittenhouse and then with John Pierce. And it's like, this guy's been fired. This guy was a disaster. He was a debacle. He stole money from the family. He refuses to make an accounting to the family. I've requested an accounting now, I think over a month ago. He's refused to give anything, refused to respond at all. And so I entered the live stream, made a super chat. A bunch of other people did. Tim
was your super chat like Nick Rekieta's super chat with Tiger Lady during Eric Hunley's stream, or was it a on point super chat?
It was an on point super chat. I just said, "Hey John, when are you going to give back the money you stole and sign the bail documents you're due?" So and a bunch of other people in the chat jumped on the same thing. I knew Poole would not be happy about that and wasn't going to probably read my super chat, but he did bring up the question in more polite form at the very end. But the problem was, it would have been one thing if he was just interviewing Pierce about Pierce's experiences. The problem was the misleading nature of the label of the Rittenhouse, as if this guy was connected to Rittenhouse. The second thing is it's a mistake to promote this guy. I think that anybody that's associated with him is going to look like Brian Stelter now looks when he was promoting Michael Avenatti. And to give you an idea of how bad a lawyer John Pierce is, he makes Michael Avenatti look both smart and ethical. That's how bad a lawyer John Pierce is. I mean, he's already doing severe damage in the January 6th cases. He's showing up in a bunch of cases. Sometimes he appears to be filing fraudulent documents. He's claiming he's admitted in the district, or appears to be claiming that when he's not. All of them he needs to appear pro hoc for, because he's not a licensed attorney in the District of Columbia. It's not clear he's even following that for some clients. He'll appear for clients who'll replace good. People think that everybody's got bad lawyers. That's not the case. You have so many defendants, and D.C. is the only jurisdiction you can be licensed in, or you otherwise have to be allowed to appear pro hoc to appear for a defendant. That's the restriction in the legal profession in general. It leans to the left. That's the restriction on the quality of lawyers. But in several of the cases he's appearing in, they actually had very good lawyers. So they had some very aggressive public defenders in some of these cases that he's appearing in. He wasn't needed, frankly. And same with in fact, he's not needed for any of them. Everyone, going back to the pro se thing, every one of these defendants would be better off pro se than having John Pierce as their counsel. This is a guy that doesn't have any background in this level of criminal defense representation. He was an utter disaster, as we talked about, predicted even before it happened in the Rittenhouse case. And that's why the Rittenhouse family, some of these people that continue to promote him should, talk to people like Wendy Rittenhouse eye to eye and see if, there's, some people that have been former clients of mine that are good people, but they continue to promote fraudsters and grifters. And they did so too. And people like Wendy Rittenhouse relied upon them in part, and they owe her an apology, because he came in, he did severe damage to the case by keeping him locked up when he didn't need to be locked up for that whole time period, just to put more money in his own pocket as a pretext for ridiculous fees. He was telling everybody that he was working for free. He wasn't. He had, required that the Rittenhouses sign a $12.50 an hour contract for a guy who's never tried a case of this nature in his life. He even billed them for the time he spent shopping for a shirt to appear on Tucker Carlson's show. I mean, that's the kind of nonsense. Over $300,000 he took. Then he took another $40,000 that is supposed to be in trust, never returned it, and is now demanding a whole bunch more money. I mean, it's preposterous who this guy is.
As a lawyer, I even felt guilty billing for lunch, even if I had lunch with the client and we talked about the file. But it's and $12.50 an hour. I felt guilty billing $2.50 an hour Canadian after 10 years of practice.
And this is a guy who's never won a case like this ever. Never even handled an extradition case. Never handled a case in Wisconsin. Never handled a case in Illinois. Never handled a state murder case. Never handled a self-defense case. Just like he's never handled high-end white-collar or other federal criminal defense cases. And what he's doing he stole a bunch of money. Remember, people independently, not fight back, independently raised nearly $1 million for Wendy Rittenhouse. He and Lynn Wood convinced her to give that money over to Fight Back. And then Fight Back ended up giving a bunch of money to John Pierce he didn't earn and deserve. And he is trying to steal the bail money. I mean, that's what he's currently doing. He's trying to steal the $2 million bail money. All he's got to do is sign some documents. I have a way to deal with that anyway. But this is just nonsense what he's doing. And then he jumped over to a new grift. I mean, he saw the success Michael Avenatti had and said, I'll just do the same thing, but on the right. And this is a guy, again, that has, 6, 7 people said, hey, just go ahead and sue him. I'm in a long line. There's 6 or 7 creditors in front of me for tens of millions of dollars that he owes already. There's no chance of recovering that money. That's why he keeps creating new entity after new entity after new entity. He's staying right ahead of the fraud judgments he has against him. He has domestic violence restraining orders against him. So he's got issues with the ex-wife. He's got IRS tax liens on him. So, there's a long litany of creditors who have priority from a judgment perspective. So he knows that I can't do anything about that. So instead, he's been threatening Kyle that if I or other people raise these issues, that he'll say negative things about Kyle and lie about Kyle in the court of public opinion. And this is who Tim Pool decided to promote as a Rittenhouse expert on his show.
So, having not seen it, I don't know if Tim Pool gave him a hard time or grilled him on these issues. I suspect
he only asked him one question at the very end because everybody in the chat was saying, why aren't you asking him Barnes's question? So it was just poor due diligence on his part. And normally he does pretty good due diligence. I've followed him for more than 5 years, known him for quite a while, knew him before any of this show took off. He's a good-hearted guy who puts on a lot of platforms, a lot of populist voices. Don't always agree with him, obviously, but is a sincere, well-intended guy that the lawsuit sort of reveals. He's a trusting individual, not a mistrusting individual. But just as the lawsuit should have been a wake-up call to be careful with due diligence, not just with employees, but especially given the sphere he's now entering. He's entering kind of mini Joe Rogan sphere with the guest he puts on. And he has good producers that are well-intended people. I have a hunch as to which person helped promote this, and this is someone who knew not to promote John Pierce to the Rittenhouse family and did so anyway. And they really need to, but they're also very good-hearted people, but they need to stop doing so. And they think they're helping January 6th defendants. This is already hurting January 6th defendants, just like he did with Rittenhouse. He's repeating it. He started comparing the January 6th defendants to revolutionaries. He's compared them. He said, maybe we should unite with the Russians and the Chinese, all the things that will trigger fear buttons in D.C. amongst the judiciary. And as soon as he gets into a case, he's often taking issues off the docket because he's using this as a new grift. He has a new charity that can't be a legally recognized charity at this stage that he admits is going to be self-dealing out of the gate. That, by the way, the people running the charity are going to be giving money to him, and that's him and him. So, which you can't do. That means the state of California can close it down anytime they want. And so but in order to raise as much money, he'll need to drag out these clients' cases. So he appeared in a case. There was some bail issues pending. He didn't raise the bail issues, and he didn't even object to waivers of speedy trial objections. He has no clue what he's doing in these cases. He's often replacing good CGA or public defender lawyers. So these people's representations, his quality is going down, not up consistently. And that was my problem with Tim Pool promoting.
So that's the thing is people are saying Tim Pool's good-natured, good-spirited, maybe didn't grill him as much. I left up the super chat for a while as to whether or not you're going to go on Timcast. I know there's been some discussion. This might be the way to rectify, at the very least, have this discussion be made more public so that people can know. Because, inviting someone on, not grilling them on the hardest things of their life or things that you may not know. I got the same critique when we had Cernovich on the first time, when I had him on, way back when, and I got emails like, ask me about this, look into this. Did you hear about these awful videos? So I did it, and I don't mind grilling them. Cernovich is the type of guy who doesn't mind being grilled, and he was more polite with me than others might have been. So I don't know if Pierce would have gone on had he known that it would have been confrontational or at the very least adversarial on these issues. But there's a way to, to get the other side of the story out, and that might be you going on Timcast and saying what you just said here.
And I'm happy to do that. And like I said, I like Tim Pool, and I'm not trying to be too critical of him. It's that I want to make sure everybody else is aware before anybody else starts promoting him. In the conservative space, this guy is worse than Michael Avenatti. And do you want to be associated with that? Do you want to be affiliated with that? So a lot of people didn't, people at certain, I won't mention them because a lot of these people I've done free legal representation for. So I have actual ethical obligations to them of a certain kind, but they should know better. They should know better. And they're leaning, again, just talk to Wendy Rittenhouse. Wendy relied upon some of these people in the conservative space as sincere and well-intended, saying, don't worry, everything's great with John Pierce. And that hurt her and hurt her son legal position. Because he made misrepresentations about militias, which are totally false. Kyle Rittenhouse has no ties to militias, never did. They did a massive background dive on his entire social media. Nothing, zero, zilch, zunka connected to that. The same with, the Proud Boys. That was solely because John Pierce liked hanging out with some Proud Boys, and he brought them around. Kyle Rittenhouse had no clue who those people were. And, and again, this is information that's now being used against him in court of public opinion, and they're even trying to use it against him in the case. So some people were confused and thought Pierce is still representing him. Pierce has been fired all the way back in January. So, Pierce was also, he was just doing bad stuff. This guy is a cokehead. He abuses alcohol. He insulted the family around other family members and other members of the public. This guy is bottom of the barrel. When I say he's worse than Michael Avenatti, and I was one of the first people to go after and out Michael Avenatti, then I'm not kidding. And I knew about John Pierce's. I was talking about this long before I was representing Kyle. I was saying this from the very get-go. I knew who he was. I knew his reputation in L.A. I knew what the court records held.
I remember you mentioning it. This was before I knew anything of anything. You were mentioning it as they were raising money. Like, be careful. Almost everybody in the chat was saying, get this out to the Rittenhouse family because you were issuing these warnings before the problem arose. And I'm not saying that to keep your butt. I remember.
Knew these warnings, and I told them directly, and they ignored them and continued to promote Pierce to the family. And that's why some of those people owe an apology to Wendy Rittenhouse, and they're going to be owing an apology to the January 6th defendants because they're setting those people up to fail. This guy's just a grifter. He's doing this just to pocket as much money as he can. He does not have the competence or capability to defend any of these people, and he's going to hurt their cases like he already is, both in the courts of law and in the courts of public opinion.
All right, and I'm bringing up some chat that is critical of Tim, that is supportive of Tim. I watched Tim because you get some information, and you just have to know how to digest that information. So
he's a young kid. What people forget about him is he's in the young 30s. He's a skateboarder, ex-hacker. I think he's trying to do the best he can, and I don't want to put too many obligations on him. I'm using him as an example so that other people recognize not to continue him, because what can happen is someone like Pierce can appear on Tim Pool. It can appear as if Pool is vouching for him, because Pool has talked about how he does due diligence before he has guests on, and then they're going to promote him, and all of them need to stop. All of them really need to stop. And they're making a big mistake. They're hurting the people that they believe they're helping, just like they hurt Wendy Rittenhouse and the Rittenhouse family.
All right. Well, someone said as a joke, tell us what you really think, Robert. It's out there, so everyone knows. And this is not news if you've been watching our streams for long enough, because we were talking about this. You were talking about this. And I'm saying that not to place blame, just to give you the credit, because you had been issuing these warnings from before there was a problem. Now there's a problem. And I understand what you're saying is that when you see John Pierce, his name is John Pierce, on Timcast, and you don't get into the nitty gritty, or you don't have him on to grill him the way he might deserve to be grilled, it can lend credibility to him as a lawyer, and other people can make the same mistake, not knowing what happened with Rittenhouse.
And when you have a headline that says Rittenhouse motion may get case dismissed with Team John Pierce, something to that effect, that's what triggered a lot of people's concerns. They're like, no, this guy's already done enough damage. He has nothing to do with the defense. Total disassociation. He contaminated the defense. He stole money. We'll be dealing with that. Tim Pool did ask him that question at the end, and he denied it. He did one of the tells. He said 1,000% false, which always usually means 100% true, folks. Don't use the 1,000%. If you get caught in something, don't use it, because almost any investigator's like, why the exaggeration? And it's because he's lying, and it's because he thinks he can't get caught. and he's wrong about that. He's requiring me to take more assertive action, but that's on him. But again, and it's not to put any shade on Tim Pool, but a reminder to all the people in independent press out there: don't be promoting this guy. He's a fraudster. He's a grifter. He'll make you look bad in time.
Yeah, or if I don't think he would ever come on, but it would be to grill him properly and confront him on these issues, not to
I'll debate him anywhere, any place, anytime. But he's got to quit also illicitly trying to threaten to tell lies about Rittenhouse. If people like me raise questions about him, he's not entitled to that whatsoever. As an attorney, if you're sued, you can only even discuss the things related to the suit, and you're supposed to seek to seal information that could be attorney-client privilege. But it gives you an idea of what a bottom gutter guy he is. To say, oh, I'll try to humiliate and hurt this kid in his case trial if you guys say anything about me. You expose what a fraud I am. I mean, I don't respond well to that, and he'll figure that out in good time.